It is a privilege and an honor to introduce one of our great leaders of our community, who also happens to be a great friend. In the interest of time, I'm only going to highlight a few aspects of Elfi's distinguished career. Elfi DiBella is the president and CEO of YWCA Columbus. She joined the Y, since joining the Y, Elfi has worked to meet critical needs of all women in Central Ohio, from chronically homeless women struggling with mental illness and addictions, to professional women striving to be the next generation of leaders in our community. Under her leadership, the YWCA Family Center, an emergency shelter for homeless families, has continued to be a national model for success by rapidly rehousing families and offering a breadth of services under one roof. As CEO of one of Columbus's most influential organizations for women, Elfi invests her time in supporting and creating programs to address women's critical needs, which includes providing affordable childcare for working mothers, GED programs for formerly homeless women, racial justice training for children, and leadership opportunities for young as well as seasoned women. She has received numerous awards of recognition for her leadership in the community and has no plans of slowing down anytime soon. Again, to introduce to some and present to others a dynamic woman who is having a positive impact in Central Ohio, Elfi DiBella.
It is such a pleasure to be here and have the opportunity to tell you about the great work that is being done at YWCA Columbus. It is also wonderful to see so many familiar faces in the group. That's always fun to have an opportunity to reconnect with past friends and acquaintances. I'm also joined today by Faith Williams, our VP of Programs, as well as Terry Faduba, who is our Vice President of Engagement and Development. Let us just take a quick look at YWCA and certainly what our mission is. As you can see, our mission is dedicated to eliminating racism and empowering women and promoting peace, justice, freedom, and dignity for all. And when I take you back in time just a moment, let me just give you a little bit of the legacy of this really amazing organization. The worldwide movement started back in 1855 in England. And the World YWCA is now a strong organization that promotes women's social change, economic change in over 100 countries across the world. Then YWCA USA was actually started in 1858 here in New York, not here, but in New York City, and now has about 230 associations across the US. And about 2 million individuals will be receiving programs and services at 1,300 different sites at any given time across our US. And then your very own YWCA Columbus was started in 1886 by 5 forward-looking women who realized that there was a need for housing and social support for young women moving into this community. So when you look at our legacy, 2016 is an important year for us. We are celebrating 130 years. For 130 years, YWCA Columbus has served our community, whether it was advocating for child labor laws or a 40-hour work week, whether it was advancing civil rights or women's rights, from teaching for leadership opportunities for women and girls, or for providing shelter and a helping hand to homeless women and families. YWCA Columbus has established a proud legacy for leadership for positive change in our community, racial and social justice, and economic development. And we're very proud to be celebrating our 130th anniversary, and certainly are proud to recognize Big Lots, who is our anniversary sponsor. As Renee mentioned in her opening remarks, we have a breadth of different services. We are the oldest organization in this community dedicated to the ever-changing needs of women and their families. We provide programming and services that meet critical needs in our community, and we can do so because we have an amazing board of trustees whose impact and support is critical. but also we have over 5,000 volunteers and about close to 200 part and full-time employees. And while I'm talking about our Board of Trustees, I have to especially recognize, of course, Renee Shoemate, who is our incoming board chair. So when somebody serves on our board, they are here and committed to our organization for many years. And as you can imagine, we don't let good women go. So she will be part of our family for a long time. As part of the services that we provide with a mission of eliminating racism and empowering women, obviously leadership is very, very important, and we want to look at different ages. So we have a Bright Futures Leadership Program, which is sponsored by Nationwide, and that offers 11th grade young women leadership development opportunities, leadership workshops that will include a community project, as well as social justice advocacy training. And then we also have a Leadership for Social Change. That particular program is co-sponsored by Medical Mutual as well as JP Morgan Chase. And that is a new program. This is our inaugural year because we wanted to replace it as our Gen Y program because now we want to work with the millennials. And this program works with young women, and we provide them, once again, leadership and social justice advocacy training to make positive social change happening in our community, and it's based on the principles of equity and support and justice for all. Once again, harking back to our mission, our programs and services are really based heavily on our mission, of course, which only makes sense. Our YWCA Columbus has been an advocate for social justice for 130 years. And this was often done in response to other things going on in our community. We've always had a particular focus on eliminating racism work, and that is a goal for us in everything we do every day. Because of the racial currents going on within our country at this point, we started the Safe Conversations About Racism series. And that's an opportunity for individuals to come together and talk, listen, and hear about current topics by two qualified facilitators who will also share historical background, but also personal experiences. It's very powerful, and I invite all of you to be part of them. And then, of course, we have other kinds of programs that have to do with our social justice programs. We were celebrating our civil rights legislation turning 50 in 2015, when we also partnered with a national coalition of 100 Black women. And that was an opportunity to host a discussion with elected officials and talk about and hold them accountable for promises made while running for office, and talk about policies and practices. It was a very, very powerful coming together. And we work a lot with our child care program because it is important that we educate our young ones too. And we educate about personal bias and social norms because those can be prohibitive in embracing and seeing the strengths in diversity. And we do this in our child care program. We have a Race Against Racism curriculum. We do it with our staff. We do it with our Board of Trustees. And when we're in a time like right now when a lot of people are paying attention to racism, I invite all of you, just like we have, to take a look at having a discussion about your personal biases and have it be top of mind, and certainly as you evaluate your organization and see how people of color are faring, because we know there's a lot of research that shows how beneficial it is to have a diverse workforce, because there's so many benefits in that. So I encourage you to be part of that important step. Another important part of our organization is our child care program that I just mentioned. It is before and after school child care, where you have affordable and high quality child care at 17 different sites in New Albany and Gahanna. And what is wonderful about that particular program, not only is it the quality of service that is being provided for these young ones, along with support with homework and you name it, but it is also generating 1/3 of our revenue. And as business individuals, you know how important it is that we not only raise money from you and many others, but also that we are able to generate revenues for other streams. Many of you are familiar with our YWCA Family Center, Many of you have served dinner there, and I'm very, very thankful for that. It's in emergency shelter. It is a national model, and we provide emergency shelter and food for homeless families in our community, and we also give them the tools needed to find permanent housing. If you have not had a tour of that family center, I encourage all of you, we would love to have you be out there. But our team members and our staff out there really make it a point to have 24/7 case services. We meet the families where they are. We develop a goal plan, and we give them all the tools they need to move on eventually into their own housing. When you think about that, we cannot do that on our own. We have many, many collaboration, whether there was nonprofit partners or with many for-profit organizations. We have an amazing legal clinic that we do every 3 weeks. We have a partnership with COWIC, Children's Hospital, you name it. We provide a lot of services to these very, very vulnerable families. We serve 3 meals a day, 365 days of the year, and every dinner is paid for and served by volunteers. So I thank you once again for those of you who've done it. That is a savings of about $200,000 to our bottom line. And because of all these wonderful collaborations and a hard team that's practiced and patient and passionate about their work, more than 55% of all the families who come into our program will leave within 20 days to find their own permanent housing. When you look at the national average rate of 74 days, that is pretty tremendous. But let's take a look at the families that we serve. And you may wonder what brings a family to our family center, what makes a family homeless. Every family has a different story, whether it's that job that they lost, whether it's a company that downsized, whether it's that one medical bill that sent them over the brink, and they end up losing their income. They may lose they will lose their housing. They move in with friends and families once their resources are depleted. And then there comes that time where they come to us. And so when you look at our families, what is striking is that 93% of the head of household is declared as a female. So even if there is another partner, whether it's a male or different, it's always the woman that tends to be the head of household. And out of that 93%, 54% are single mothers. And so you know where the challenges can arise, because you have a large population of women who are homeless, but then we also know that they are behind in getting an equitable rate compared to their male counterparts. So you have a lot of challenges that our women, our mothers, have to overcome. We also have a striking growing population of young parents that are 18 to 24-year-olds. And so we really are keeping an eye on that. And we have a lot of children at the family center. But when you look at the annual income that our families have, $9,570, and then you take a look at where they can go in our community. As I'm sure you know, we need more affordable housing. Looking at a minimum wage in Ohio, in Columbus, $8.10. You know, you can make do the math when you look at a two-bedroom apartment. The average rate for that is about $840 a month. And so there are a lot of challenges that our families have to overcome. And as we look to work with them, we don't do any work for them, but we give them all the tools that they need to move on. We're a benefits bank, so we have an opportunity to connect them to services, but we truly just make sure that they have all the tools so they can move on. And that's what made us, and has made us, this national model. Another big important part of our family center is our safe and sound child care, as well as our kids club. What is important is that the families, that the parents are out in the community. If they have a job, they need to be working. If they're looking for housing or looking for a job, they need to be out and about. And they need to know that their children, their little ones, are taken care of. So we have a wonderful child care program where we do that, so the parents can be out and about and make that happen. We also have a fantastic relationship with Columbus City Schools Project Connect. And it's an opportunity for all the children, no matter what age and no matter what school of origin, to be part of their original school. The school buses come and pick them up, and that is great, because when the families come to us, there is so much stress in their lives. And these little young ones, when they're school age, they just need that piece of normalcy. They need to know that when they're at schools, their friends don't know that they're homeless, and that is critical, especially when you think about the way we used to run our homeless family shelter before we built the family center 11 years ago, where we had one room downtown, and every night all the women and all the families would be outsourced to different individuals or churches and synagogues. And it was an opportunity to really treat our families with dignity and build that family center, and that was the community coming together to make that happen. So we're very excited about the process and the project, and certainly the national status that we have. Our women's residency program is another important part of our women's YWCA work. When you look at our women's residency, what you're looking at here is the supportive housing to formerly homeless women. 100% of them will be struggling with mental illness. There may be some substance abuse or physical disability. And we empower these women by giving them on-site service. Once again, it's 24/7 support, casework, like career counseling. We help them get their GED. We have mentoring programs. We have art classes so they can overcome their challenges. And with the help of all these support components, we help them find jobs and stabilize. After an average stay of about 2 years, our women will move on into their own housing where they can be economically self-sufficient again, which is critical for these women. But let's take a look at this population. When we talk about the 100% chronically homeless women, 100% will have that mental illness I mentioned, 70% will have experienced domestic violence at some point in their time, and 70% have a dual diagnosis. What's even more startling is that 40% of the women we serve come directly to us from the land, having lived in the open, not even in a shelter, and that makes them extremely vulnerable. Let me just share one quick story with you. There was Marla. She's one of our women who we currently serve. And a while ago when she was younger, she came home early and she was found burglars in her home. The burglars caught her, covered her body with kerosene and set her on fire. Over 90% of her body, or the majority of her body was burned. And it took her many, many years for recovery. But unfortunately, that also triggered a road into mental illness as well as alcohol abuse. And then there's Marcia. Marcia was with a man, her husband, for 10 years, and he abused her physically, emotionally, on a regular basis, and sexually. And one time she was able to get away. And obviously, that can have so much impact on your psyche, and it has. The good news is when the women come to us, we meet them where they are. And in this case, Marcia's stabilized. She's able to go to Columbus State Community College now, and she knows that she is in a safe place with our YWCA Women's Residency Program. We have our wonderful historic Griswold building, and many of you are familiar with that. I know I talked to some of you about it. It was built in 1929, and it has been our administrative headquarters ever since. And it has been the building place for many different other organizations who were part of that, and they moved on to be their own organizations, but it's always been the YWCA Griswold building. And it's exciting there, what we're doing there right now. It's over 90-year-old building. It is a historic building, and we're currently undergoing a massive renovation. And many of you are supporters of that campaign, and I thank you for that. And the reason we decided to have a renovation happen is because these women were living with us in really uncomfortable situations, and we wanted to have an opportunity to really provide them with the life skills that they need, to really assure them the dignity that they need to have when they move on, but also to have the life skills. So we undertook, in addition to renovating the rooms for our women residents, but also the idea of restacking our building so it can be cost effective, but also have opportunities to generate more revenue, once again to offset the component on how we raise our funding. And so we're very excited that we're coming towards the end of our renovation. We've been involved in this for over 2 years, and this is a close to $25 million renovation project. 10 million raised from the community, and 15 were part of government grants, as well as historic and federal and state historic tax credits, as well as for low housing income tax credits. But what you see here is we're moving from these dorm-style looking rooms, 126 square footage dorm-style looking rooms, to these units that will have a little kitchenette, that will have a little bathroom, and really have an opportunity to provide the life skills that our women need for when they move on. What's exciting about that, when you renovate a historic building, for many of you that's something familiar, certainly Bob knows about that, and it's an opportunity to be very creative. And so when we look at some of the features that we have in our Griswold building, this particular gym on the left-hand side, it's actually a historic component that we cannot change. So what we did, we got really creative with the help of our architect and our contractor, and so we're actually putting offices at the perimeter of that gym with glass walls, so we can maintain the integrity of our historic component. And it's exciting that we can take this old building and restack it and find wonderful new ways of utilizing it to its best in capacity, and really use every nook and cranny of our building to make sure that we can have the opportunity to provide the services that we need to provide. And it's an opportunity for us to also then have an employment resource center, which will be set up in the middle. And what's also exciting is that we take other entities of our building and generate them into opportunities for growth, not just for the organization, but for the community as a whole. So we're turning our pool into our new ballroom. And as part of that, our ballroom will actually have a working kitchen. And that's critical for us, not only to be attractive to many of you who may be housing or looking for an event space, but also our women will be able to work in our professional kitchen that they will have. And we have a partnership with Columbus State Community College and their hospitality program. So it's an opportunity there for them to come in and learn and teach our women about cooking and safety, anything to do with hospitality. But that will also then generate and translate into job opportunities for our women. So really a nice opportunity to be there. And then, of course, we will have co-working space that's for rent, as well as other opportunities that are other rooms in our building that are part of the opportunity to have rental income. And so I do encourage all of you, as you think about if you need rental space, if you need an opportunity to have a space for a luncheon, such as this, keep us in mind next year. At this point, we're still out of the building. We're looking to move in at the beginning of the year, and then have an opportunity to really shine a bright light on this wonderful building, which is a gem for our community. And it took many of you to help support make this wonderful renovation happen. And then, of course, no organization would be doing what we can do without our important fundraisers. We do have a fundraiser coming up. I'm not asking for money. I'm just letting you know. We have a woman-to-woman luncheon coming up, and that's an opportunity for us to tell you about the work that we're doing, how we're moving the needle, and really have an opportunity to showcase. This year will be especially exciting because we will showcase all of our programs, but we will also have program participants on the stage telling their story. And you know, some of the women, some of the families we serve, they have challenges, but it's a wonderful opportunity for them to overcome their challenges. Just as we look at our women's residency program, that's why we do a lot of work with our women there in the realm of art, because they need to have an opportunity to overcome their issues and their challenges, and so they can be ready to move on. The same as our family center, and we need to give our families there, our homeless families there, we need to give them the tools to move on, and it's a critical part of this community. It is the same for our leadership programs or our child care areas. A lot of critical work is being done, and we couldn't do it without supporters like you, without an amazing board of trustees, without the passion and hardworking team members that we have. The mission of eliminating racism and empowering women is part of their DNA, and we couldn't be doing what we are and have the great reputation that this organization has without them. So that is the YWCA in a nutshell, and I do want to thank you for the opportunity to be here. I want to thank you for all you do, and most importantly, I appreciate so much your service above self component. That is critical, and I think for those of us who are in the nonprofit world, that's why we do what we do. It is hard work, but it's also very rewarding to be able to see how lives are being changed. And that's what Columbus has always been great about. We come together in our community, whether it's with our nonprofits, with our for-profits, with our elected officials, to really make change happen. And so it's exciting that I can stand here today and talk to you about our work and what we have done for the last 130 years and what we're looking to do for the next 130 years. And exciting to know that we will take a leading role in making this community a better place, whether it's with our social justice work that we're looking to increase, whether it's with our housing, or whether it's with our empowering a vulnerable population. This is, like you, I'm sure our organization has to always think, how do we maintain relevancy? How do we grow? How do we touch more lives? And at this point, we are critical to this community. We may someday be able to say, all our hard work is done. But until then, we are proud to be providing critical programs and services to this community because we know we are making a profound difference in the lives of many. I'm more than happy to answer any questions that you may have. And once again, I thank you for your past support. I thank you for the opportunity to be here. Yes, sir.
I may have missed it. What's the capacity of the lunchroom?
That's a great question. We're looking at about 180 to 250 individuals, depending on how we set up the configuration. But it will be fantastic. And for those of you who are looking to get married or might know somebody who wants to get married, we will have a beautiful new ballroom with 2 gorgeous staircases coming down. And you can see the visual right there, great pictures. So please keep us in mind, it's a great opportunity. It'll be very versatile with different screens and so forth. Yes, sir.
Do you work with the school system to try to educate the young folks as to how they can avoid getting into trouble in the first place?
We do have a lot of collaborations in many different levels, whether it's with the school system, whether it's with different nonprofit organizations. It's hard to touch, to teach young ones how to stay out of trouble. I don't think there's the answer for that necessarily. A critical part, of course, are the parents and how do you keep the parents engaged. While we don't have anything specific, we do a lot of collaborations in our community, whether they're with the different school systems, the ones that we support with our child care program, or whether it's us coming together, whether it's nonprofits who work in that arena and we partner with them and support them. So we try to do as much as we can do.
You mentioned the housing you provide through your family center. Do you have collaboration with some other organizations that do a similar mission, such as Homeless Families Foundation or Columbus Metropolitan Housing Authority?
Absolutely, and I appreciate the question. We collaborate with many different nonprofits and organizations like that. When I look at CMAJ, Columbus Metropolitan Housing Authority, they're critical to our renovation because they're helping us with the voucher component that we need for our women to stay with us, the Section 8 voucher component. And of course, the CMAJ is a fantastic supporter and gives us a lot of guidance. In regard to Homeless Families Foundation, other partners would be Salvation Army, Friends of the Homeless, I guess they don't exist anymore, Volunteers of Salvation Army, Volunteers of America, and Homeless Family Foundation are critical partners to us. Of all the families that we serve throughout the year, a certain number of our families will go on to those organizations who then provide them with housing and additional supportive services. While I talked about the market rate of our 2-bedroom apartments, the majority of our families now unfortunately have to go to market rate apartments, but many of those 3 organizations in particular we partner with on a regular basis. We partner with the YWCA, we partner with Mary Haven, and formerly Amethyst, who is now part of Lutheran Elvis House, by providing different services and programs, not only for the families that we serve, but also for the the women's residency program. What's great about our community, which is what I mentioned before, there are a lot of wonderful nonprofit organizations in this community, and they do a lot of good work. And so we couldn't do what we're doing. We couldn't have the success rate we have would it not be for our other nonprofits who step up to partner with us.
Elfi, thank you so much for the presentation. And this meeting's adjourned.